Hello YouTube, Damo_23 here and welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. On today's video we have another Premier League video where we recap our Game Week 8 points, look ahead to Game Week 9 and the potential for the next 4 weeks for transfers via Fantasy Football Hub. Obviously we played our Game Week 8 Wildcard as well and we'll definitely be recapping how we went. Without further ado, give the episode a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, in the links below, we have been streaming a lot on Twitch at the moment with some FIFA, but Football Manager is fast approaching. It's the game that I definitely prefer. FM24 has a lot of great features, and I cannot wait to start my Ange Postecoglou Can We Do It Better save for the beta when it eventually drops. With that being said, let's get straight into the episode. As you can see here, 65 points on Wildcard. Few places I want to speak about here, but more importantly, let's get straight into it. From excursioning out of the top 50k, we're now back inside the top 50k. For those that don't know, my goal this year is to finish inside the top 50k for the first time. We've had some really good years where we've come close or, we've been in and around the top 100k. Never finished inside the top 50. We're obviously going to try to this year. If we have a look on the beautiful Excel spreadsheet, a row of full greens, which is nice. We had a game week rank of 483k approximately, a very, very good game week rank. Honestly, think if you're anywhere inside the top 1.5 mil, you're generally getting a green arrow considering there's about 10 to 11 million managers. That means our overall rank came in at 48,065, which is a positive decrease of 131k. We also had our team value go up, even though we, used our wildcard, which is great, and expect that to grow throughout the rest of the international break. Now, you guys know about Punt of the Week. Of course, you guys do. My Punt of the Week on Wildcard was twofold. I went for Darwin Núñez over the possibility of looking to get Watkins in, who is quite highly owned. Darwin and Watkins matched each other, so I do take that as a positive. The other one is the good old 2-point X. I'll find out exactly in a second. Percentage of ownership for Guehi. Got great fixtures. If you can't afford Anderson, definitely recommended Guehi. And well, lads, 9-pointer. I'm very happy with that, considering the guy got a clean sheet, free bonus, and is one of the guys I want to speak about because he is a hero. As you can see, he's owned by 2.1%, and with some really good upcoming fixtures, well, we can rotate him in and off the bench, and hopefully he can get very close to Anderson. With that being said, let's talk about the rest of the team. First time I've got a clean sheet in 8 weeks from my goalkeeper. It's also the first time Pickford goes and gets a 9-pointer. Very annoying to take Pickford out before he hauls. I've been saying that, there will be a time where he will get a clean sheet and will get lots of points. In saying that though, not complaining with Turner there. Obviously, first week with Trippier, and this is why we love him. Bonus point merchant, assist, even though he conceded, still gets a 6-pointer. Udoji, obviously, this Spurs game is quite annoying for us, but there we go. And Maddison and Son, both Maddison could have had probably another assist here, and obviously Son should have had at least a return or two. Obviously, a big chance missed by Pedro Porro. Son missed a couple of chances, and more importantly, Maddison feeds in arguably one of the worst players in the league in Richarlison, who doesn't know how to put a ball in the back of the net if he ever tried at the moment. Obviously, the last thing that we did discuss is who to captain. We mentioned on the podcast, I and ahed all Saturday between Salah and Son. In the end, flipped a coin, landed on heads. We went Son, and tails would have been the preferred choice there of Salah. I really do think this one was quite 50-50. I don't really like captaining in the early game, and I'm going to do it again this week coming up, unfortunately, but the fixture was too good, and on a different day, without the red card, or if Richarlison finished that chance early, or two of them early, we probably would have seen a very, very big scoreline for Spurs, so I'm not too worried there. Obviously, lucky last, Darwin did fantastic. Haaland, 2 points. We never thought about taking him out, but if you did go without Haaland, pretty good week for you. But there is definitely fixtures where Haaland will be looking to score goals. On the bench, we had Areola, Archer, Gordon, and Lamptey has been flagged, but I don't have any real concerns. It's just a knock. Only reason he really didn't play on the weekend was mainly because the guy can't really play 2 weeks in a row. When you've got a 3.9 mil asset that's gone up to 4 mil, I'm really putting him on my bench just as a placeholder. Can be used in an emergency while Stupian is, injured. And I expect Lamptey to play a little bit moving forward and will eventually probably move back out at some stage back to a Kabore, or another of the 4.0 options. Now, if you have a look at the team here, first thing to note is we have 0.2 in the bank. So when you see that it's negative 0.4 here, it's definitely not. So there is a 6-point upward swing on the in the bank on Fantasy Football Hub. In terms of the team, it is picked as followed. Turner in goals against Luton. Don't see him dropping his spot. Obviously, we've got 3 home fixtures at the back, which is fantastic. Here in Trippier, Udogie and Cash for Palace, Fulham and West Ham. There is a case that, obviously West Ham probably could score against Matty Cash, and I do agree with this, but it's much better than playing Lamptey against City or Guehi against Newcastle. With this being said, if you look at the midfield line, it is a very good midfield line. Maddison against Fulham, Sullivan the captain's armband against Everton, Diaby against West Ham, Son against Fulham, and Gordon at home against Palace. I do expect Gordon, after serving his suspension, to come straight back into the Newcastle team with the injury to Harvey Barnes. If we ever needed to pivot here, we could always get to Pedro Neto, who does look very good at the moment for Wolves. But the plan was to always take the asset, even though it was red carded from a better team. They just have better chance creation. They're very good going forward, and Gordon looks heavily involved this year. So more than happy to have rode Gordon on the bench and play him here against Palace. We've obviously got Darwin against Everton and Haaland against Brighton. I want to speak about the Salah and Darwin here. I'm going to captain Salah, and I obviously expect Salah to play because he is Mohamed Salah and he doesn't miss games. There's the potential to captain Son against Fulham. There's always goals in the Merseyside derby. We always seem to do very, very well at Anfield. The only time of recent memory where you think about a game that was maybe underwhelming was obviously the Divock Origi moment when Pickford spills one. So outside of that, you usually get goals at Anfield. It usually doesn't go well. Most times they're not. It's a red card for Everton, and then it just opens up big time. So hopefully for a game where Salah can go rampant, and he has looked very good when Darwin Núñez starts. My issue is that, though. Darwin Núñez starting. This is the one game week where I looked at it and was like, he's going to start 4 of the next 5. Obviously, one being Brighton, and then Forest, and Luton. And obviously, the game that I was more worried about is Everton. I do think he starts against Brentford as well, and we'll be riding him through Brentford before I don't know what we'll do after City. We're probably holding. But with that being said, there is always the case that, Jurgen doesn't like the early kickoff on a Saturday. We know this. And especially after an international break, you often see with Diaz and Darwin, if possible, will not start this game and then start the foreseeable. I will say this though, I think being a Merseyside derby, the fact that Gakpo's coming back from injury, Jota has been suspended and now comes back, I do see a world where the front three still is Salah, Darwin and Diaz, and they may have played a 60-65 minutes before being substituted. I also think in this game as well, barring 9 men, if Darwin was to start on the bench, I do see a world where he comes on in the 60-65th because he's been in great form and really does deserve to be playing minutes at the moment. Being a Liverpool fan, this is my opinion. Don't take it as gospel, but I really do see a world where at the worst case scenario, Darwin's playing 30 minutes against one of a defence that has been putting up okay defensive numbers, but just keeps conceding. And, I think it's a game where Darwin may get quite a few chances. Obviously, Haaland against Brighton, I expect Haaland to return. Will not be captaining him, though. It's always a good week to go against Haaland when your options are Fulham at home and Everton at home for 2 really good sides. And there's going to be a lot of weeks where we're not going to be captaining Haaland in the foreseeable future, but definitely a player I don't want to take out considering his ownership. Lucky last here, let's go into Fantasy Football Hub. As you can see here on the screen, this is our team for Game Week 9 with a 98% Game Week rating, with a team rating of 98%. Expected points of 70.2. The Hub always puts Haaland as captain no matter what you do. I really do look at this and go, I think it's definitely a Salah week, and we'll be captaining Salah. However, outside of that, the team is very strong, as you can tell. The week after, in Game Week 10, things become a little bit more interesting. Obviously, we're having Areola come into the team here, and we need to think about transfers. I'm thinking at the moment I'm leaning towards 2 transfers, but it really does depend on Spurs. I'm thinking Udogie comes out there to Zinchenko. The long-term fixtures for Arsenal are really good. I think Gabriel is great value at 4.7 mil. However, I also will say that with Zinchenko, you get a little bit more aggressive attacking return potential, even though I think Gabriel is pretty good from corners, and he always had that worry since the start of the year. Is Gabriel really as nailed as he is? I think he is now. I think it's back to normal, but you never know. Outside of that, we're also looking to get Matoma in for these very good fixtures of Fulham, Everton and Sheffield. And in order to accompany that, we are dropping, obviously, Maddison. What that means here is that we do get Diaby there with Luton, Forest and Fulham. We still have covered with Son, who I think, is, if he's playing in the 9, is more essential than Maddison, even though I love Maddison. Salah, obviously, yet again, arguably captainable, even though Haaland against United could be goals and everybody else looks okay. But that would give me some money in the bank doing these two moves, and this is the way I'm leaning. With these two moves here, obviously it's 0.7 there. We know that the other, we knew this was out by 0.6. So if you put that on there, 1.7 by 0.6, you're looking at, 1.3 in the bank? That gives me 1.3 mil to move around if needs be. My only issue is I do really want Saka in for this run of fixtures, or the likes of a Martinelli, who has got, obviously, some really good fixtures moving forward. Post Game Week 10, there is some fixtures where you're pretty happy in owning a Martinelli, or a Saka, or an Odegaard, or even Gabriel Jesus. And this is where I'm thinking that maybe Darwin Núñez could pivot to Jesus if I really wanted to, and if we're a bit more worried with the numbers. Now, with this being said, this move from Matoma down to Maddison is very dependent on Maddison's next couple of weeks. We've seen a couple of blanks. We've seen him drop that touch deeper and be the assistant to the assist. And then we saw on the weekend what he's capable of. I don't think in any way, shape or form he's a bad asset. I've owned him since Game Week 1. But there might be the potential to sell here to either get to Matoma for these really good fixtures, or it may be a case that we're going to Matoma, or we're going, maybe a little bit more sideways to a Martinelli. We'll try to get the Saka at some point. In Game Week 11, our team yet again looks really good, so we would be rolling, and this is where Lamptey comes in. You're expecting a Stupian back in Game Week 12. Give or take maybe Game Week 13, and we get like Everton and Sheffield. Barring he doesn't play in Europe, we will have a player that we can play here. It also means in that game week we can get Gordon out for Arsenal. I'd rather play these assets and take the punt on Lamptey against Everton for the attacking return. And you also can get Zinchenko out against Newcastle with a cover for Guehi. I do think it's a really good situation. Then lucky last in game week 12, the last game week we would cover. We would have 2 transfers here with 1.3 mil in the bank. This is yet again where you think you look at Saka or you look at the Martinelli options and you're just like, I wish we could get there. There's no clear way to get there. The only other clear way that I can think of getting there is actually removing Son and from Matoma a couple of weeks ago, keeping Maddison, and then moving the likes of one of the other options up to Son, Saka. Makes things a little bit interesting. Yet again, if you have a look at the team, it's great. It actually gives me a pretty big headache, this team, because you got Areola obviously playing against Sheffield here, which we'll do. You got Son against Wolves, Salah against Brentford, Chelsea, Haaland. Matoma's got Sheffield, Diaby's got Fulham, Gordon's got Bournemouth with Trippier, Cash has got Fulham, Zinchenko's got Burnley. But you have Guehi on the bench against Everton. This is obviously a fixture you would like to play a defender in, but to be quite fair, I'm not too concerned benching him. The other one that I actually am concerned in benching is Lamptey against Sheffield. Yet again, this could be the week of Stupian's back, but if we definitely had confirmation of Stupian's out for this week, there definitely becomes the case of how do we get Lamptey onto the park here to play against Sheffield, because they're leaky and Lamptey would be bombing on and there's attacking returns. There's no real clear winner, and it might be a week where it's just interesting. It's also a week where, we're not planning on really using a transfer, which is interesting. And then the week after, in Game Week 13, is obviously the moment where what do you do with Darwin? I think if Darwin's been starting this whole time, you definitely play him. I will say this, that Darwin can definitely come out here. If the Stupian, yet again, is going to play, is going to be out, you can obviously play Lamptey. You can play Guehi here against Luton. We do have Cash against Spurs, which I'd probably like to rotate. And there is a man called Archer on the bench who actually can rotate in for Bournemouth if needs be as well. We also have transfers that we could use. This also could be a week if we really want to get Saka in, that we could maybe downgrade Darwin to a cheaper option. The likes of Awani, the likes even of going all the way down to Edouard if he's back from his hamstring strain, because he had great numbers before he got injured. And go with 1 premium striker, 2 bench strikers, and then probably look at moving the likes of one of the other options, maybe the like of a Diaby after his good fixtures, to a like of a Saka or a Martinelli, because we would have the money to do so. With that being said, that's kind of the plans and the thinking here of doing this. If you look at forwards here quickly too, just by game week, you can see here Watkins, Wissa, has got Luton and Brighton and has some really good fixtures down to 5.9. You also have Crystal Palace getting Luton and Bournemouth. So, for instance, if Edouard is back, and we know his numbers are always pretty good here with Edouard, you know, you could go, you know, and add obviously the 0.6 is you got 3.1 in the bank. You could go and get your like of Saka in here, and all of a sudden you got that as your setup for that game week. And you've got Saka in for Wolves, Luton, and Brentford, which isn't bad. You got Edouard in for Luton as well, and you could also play Guehi here against there, and you know you're in a pretty good spot. Yes, you lose Darwin Núñez here for a couple of very good fixtures against Fulham and Sheffield, but what you do gain is Saka for some really good long-term fixtures. And you punt on Darwin with short-term, on the long-term with Darwin. You just don't know if he's as nailed, but over these next 4 or 5 game weeks, the main reason Wildcard in is because he's really good. And yet again, you know, turning out for Areola. If that's your team moving in to the game week, as we get this good old one of these buses. Yeah, I can tell what a bus is. I believe this is the team that I will be rolling in game week 13, as long as Edouard's fit. That is the main thing. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching another video. I know this one's a little bit wordy, but I love planning it all out for you. If you're getting anything out of the videos, let me know in the comment section and give it a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is very, very nice to be back inside the top 48k. I know some people have been asking, how are we going in our leagues? In terms of the major leagues that we need to have a look at here, Age Management second, the League of Degenerates are a second, obviously the Ultras Hub are a third, which is nice. As well, these are all paid leagues bar the Ultras Hub, which is just the Ultras on Fantasy Football Hub, and then obviously all my head-to-head leagues bar the Stadium, which is the Discord League, are paid head-to-heads. We beat top to move up to 4th. We're top in one of my other paid head-to-head leagues, and we're second in another. We're in a very good spot. Hopefully next time we see each other is after game week 9. I've moved inside the top 1k in Australia, re-cemented ourselves inside the top 50 by getting in, you know, maybe inside the top 40, and hopefully we've had a very good week. Salah's bad to hat-trick, and we're in a great spot. Till next time, good luck, thank you, and goodbye.